deep in the messiest room of my house is a specialized device that sucks in cat hair all day, filters the air for me, and captures cat hair in great volumes. It's known as a computer. So periodically I have to come and give her a little vacuuming. And this builds up remarkably quickly. It hasn't been forever. It looks like it's forever, but it hasn't been. It's only been a few months. Not even a few months. It's probably been about a month. I vacuum this end out pretty frequently because these really collect dust quickly. Anyway, that's not the issue. The issue really is the whole computer. As you can see, it's kind of dated. A nice tower, which I'm probably going to reuse, but I'm in big need of an upgrade. The big issue with this computer is it's running Windows XP still, which they're making harder and harder for anybody to run. All the browsers have given up support for it. YouTube's given up support for XP. So it really makes running XP difficult, especially since I'm mostly on YouTube when I'm on the computer, frankly. So this is probably going to be the next project. I guess I'm showing you all this because I want feedback on and suggestions on what people think. Not that I'll really take your advice. I'm probably going to build another strange system like this strange system is. And I'm probably going to build it about with the same approach I built this one. This build. And yeah, I could solve most of it. This build is still strong enough that it does the job kind of halfway. And if I reinstalled like Windows 7 on it or something, it'd be fine. You know, the whole thing would run better with a new install. It's real old install. I never reinstall Windows over Windows like people like to do every so often. A lot of people like to reinstall Windows just for the hell of it, I guess. Or whenever they have any kind of hint of trouble, I usually try to figure it out. I never reinstall Windows, except when I first built it, of course. I reinstalled Windows a couple times because I had the configuration wrong. And actually, the boot configuration is a little bit wrong now. I really need to reinstall Windows, and I never went around to do it because I had everything set up at that point. I go, I ain't gonna reinstall Windows. I've got an external hard drive, and I've got a port on the board, eSATA. Which would be a real high-speed way to connect that drive. Unfortunately, I selected the wrong mode. I originally had it all right, but then I had to reinstall Windows for some reason. I had to double install it. I wanted to get rid of it, so I just started from scratch, formatted everything, started from scratch. But when I did all that, my BIOS settings changed, and I didn't notice that they had changed. And as a result, I have the wrong setting, and I can't use my external drive except via USB, which is as slow as molasses for that kind of data. You know, it's just USB 2. Anywho, I could even reinstall XP at this point and have a pretty good advantage just from having a fresh install and speeding everything up that way. But I think if I'm going to go through all the trouble of rebuilding my install, you know, the install is one hassle and one big time-consuming thing. But then loading all your applications in and getting everything tweaked the way you want it, that's days. So that's why I haven't done anything with this computer for a while. It is my main computer I use for rendering videos, though. My notebook isn't quite powerful enough, although I do have a little better software than I've got on this computer for video. Well, a little more prestigious software. I'm using VideoPad for my editing software on this computer. And I've used it so long that I actually know how to use it finally. So it'd be kind of tough to get me out of VideoPad. I'm probably going to stick with it when I get a new build and get a fresh upgrade on the VideoPad. I'm definitely never going to do Adobe. I don't care. If I'm a multimillionaire, I'm probably not going to do Adobe. I'm not a multimillionaire. I mean, if I was rich and money was no issue, I just don't like that marketing issue. You know, $120 a year or whatever it is for ongoing forever. You know, I guess the argument is it's continuously upgrading itself. So that's one advantage to doing that plan. And if you're a pro, that's a drop in the bucket. I'm not a pro. My channel doesn't earn me any money. It costs me money. Equipment upgrades like this, I gotta kind of keep everything in respect. I'm on a limited budget. And I'm shooting with very old equipment at this point. My camera's even starting to get shady. My Kodak is pretty much useless. This Nikon. It's got a bad mount on the tripod end now, and I need to get audio equipment, and I need to rebuild a computer. So back to the rebuilding the computer. So I've got a plethora of drives in this machine, including a floppy. I was even going to put a 5-inch floppy in this, and I decided not to bother, which is good because I'd never even used the 3-inch floppy, I don't think. SD cards have really supplanted so much stuff. That one fan socket has to stay empty because it doesn't have clearance for this other fan cooling unit here. I may reuse this. It's a pretty heavy-duty cooler. I may be able to reuse that cooler if it can fit. Probably not. I've got 4 memory cards in there. They're all DDR2. ASRock is the motherboard, and it's an AMD motherboard. I've got like a 3-core processor instead of the 4-core. Like I said, I just went one step down or a couple steps down from full tilt to get, better prices on things. So I used a pretty high-end motherboard. I put a pretty high-end chip, not the most powerful one I could have gotten at the time, but pretty close. It would have been a 4-core, would have been the top of the line back then. Of course, nowadays there's 6s and 8s and everything else out there. And I really do need to start rendering better. I need something that can render video more quickly. My last attempts at doing 4K videos have failed to the point where I just gave up. I wasn't able to get some out of here before, but the machine's slowing down and getting more inefficient. Like I said, I could just reinstall the operating system and clean that up, but it's so old at this point. I don't want to go through all that work without until I upgrade the hardware. So I'm looking for another motherboard for this unit. This is a full AT, case. The AMD versus Intel. I'd like to hear opinions on that. I know Intel's got the specs now. They're slightly over AMD. I mean, AMD's like one generation behind Intel the last several years here. Why would I consider getting an AMD? Because they're cheaper, number one, and I just think they're more stable. They run at lower temperatures. They're less pushed to the limit. They don't have this funky power management problem that some of the Intels are having, at least on the notebooks. Hopefully it doesn't happen to their mainline processors for the big motherboards like this, but I don't know. I just never had faith in Intel. I've burned once and I've always gone AMD. So on one side I'm really partial to AMD. The other side is AMD is always a generation behind Intel. Intel's always dropped the voltage or the pitch or whatever down one more notch than AMD has, so they're a little more power efficient for the same performance level. And that's an issue because I don't really like warming this room up. If I put a 120 watt processor in this unit, this is like a 95 watt, I think 85 or 95, so somewhere in that, and I don't stress it very hard, so I don't think it really does that. But this is a small room. This computer does heat this room up a little bit, and the bigger I make it, of course, the more it's going to heat up the room, which is unwelcome for the most part, except for winter, of course. And the other odd thing is I went, instead of going AMD's more in line with a different company than there's Radeon and there's the other one. I went with the one that's actually not controlled by AMD, which is odd to find a motherboard that did that. I guess I need to get you some details on this thing, and I wonder if I can see it on the screen, get some more information on what's in here. And the power supply. Do I trust the power supply? It's been a good power supply. Eco Element 650 watt high efficiency PSU. Do I upgrade the power supply as well? It's adequate power for what I'm going to probably build. But do I trust a power supply that's 9 years old and been a trooper, or is it time to put something else in there? So my current video card is an NVIDIA GeForce 9500 GT, which again was kind of a midline, lower choice, which is all I really need. My other question is, how much does rendering depend on a video card? Because I've seen different ideas on that. So really send it to the video processor for rendering? Or is it all done on the CPU? So it's XP Professional version 2002, Service Pack 3. The processor is a Phenom 2 X3 720, 2.8 gigahertz, 3.25 gigabytes of RAM. It actually has a little more than that. I think it's 4 gig actually, but XP 32-bit can only see that much. I don't know why I didn't get 64-bit XP. I believe this is a 64-bit board. XP, SP3, AMD Phenom 2 X3 720. It's a 2.8 gig, 3.25 gig of RAM. That's all the 32-bit operating system can see. It's got more RAM than that. I've got a RAM disk for the remainder, which I think the total was only 4, or maybe the total's more than that. I'm not sure. The RAM disk is not huge though. And I had that set up so it would automatically load the swap sectors onto the RAM disk. And I had that working for a while, but somehow that fell out of gear. Maybe if I got all that working again, I'd have better luck. Faster. So there's lots of tweaks I could do, and get the system working better again. And I just don't really want to put the time into this machine. I'd rather upgrade it physically before I start putting tons of time into the software, which I don't really have either. It's like they always say, you retire and then you don't have time. There's some mystery of the universe. And those DDR memory modules and their pretty blue aluminum housings are G-Skill. I like G-Skill. I've never had trouble with G-Skill. I used it in my last build before this too. I probably should have made this video after I vacuumed it out rather than before. You can see how dirty it gets though. This little module here, I'm not making good use of either. And it's another example of if I reinstalled XP, I could do vastly better here than I'm doing currently, even with XP. But of course nobody supports XP, so that's not going to happen. Anyway, this is a little solid state hard drive, and it's a single layer type. Most of them are multi-layer. The single layers are actually faster and more reliable for repeat operation. Multi-layer is taken over now though. They've gotten improvements into multi-layer technologies and some other different technologies competing with multi-layers as well. So it's like a real high-class hard drive, but I bought it big enough to contain the operating system, which was XP, but unfortunately it's not big enough for 7, so another wasted effort, I'm afraid. So that's a quick look into my scary computer, and beautifully blurred. For some reason this camera likes to blur, probably because I keep changing the light on it. So I'm curious what people think, what they like, or what they think I should do with my taste in components and stuff. And like I said, I probably won't listen to you, but I'm interested. I'm always willing to learn. I'm probably going to go with another full-size motherboard like I've got. So I have the case for it. This is a nice gamer case. It's not perfect, but it's pretty nice. And I want a board that includes eSATA, so I can use my external hard drive. I really like the motherboard I have. It's just getting dated. I may even go with ASRock again. I may try to reuse the cooler if I can. What is the other board? Oh, I've got actually got a parallel port board, which is and it gives me 2 extra serial ports as well. It gives me 2 old-time serial ports and a parallel port at the very bottom there. And I added that because I'm still using my my second ever printer that I bought when my main computer was an Atari 800 XL. I bought my Epson LQ500 back then, and I still use it to this day. And you know, a correction on that. I've had this printer ever since my very first computer, an Atari 400. I had expanded its memory by then and added a custom keyboard, and that's about when I got this printer. I went on to customize that 400 quite a bit further. That'll be a video subject someday. It had a voice synthesizer on board and a number of relays that controlled a tape recorder. It also could control a modem and a phone line. That's a story for another day.